All right. Well, I'm here today with Joseph Kramer, who is the founder of the Body Electric School, as well as more recently the founder of the Orgasmic Yoga Institute. And I'm honored and privileged to be able to talk to you today, Joseph. Thanks so much for being with me.
Thank you, Nils. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I just started watching your Fire on the Mountain male erotic massage video, and I have to be honest with you. I saw you with that huge phallus right in the back, and you're sort of lovingly stroking it, and I thought to myself, either this guy is a complete, lunatic who needs to be locked up, or he's a genius who knows something that most of us don't know about our sexuality. So I don't know if you want to defend yourself either way, but
Uh, that was the first video I ever made, and it was in 1990, so that was 23 years ago. I still have that huge phallus, and I use it sometimes in video.
yeah, it's amazing.
It's, should have brought it today, put it right here.
No, but I just kind of have to think, for your average American, male who's learning and getting into this kind of stuff, it's probably quite a bit of a shock. I know it was for me, just coming from a conservative background.
I think I come from an equally conservative background, maybe not. And from in the old days, it was even more conservative. So I
Well,
didn't even know. I heard very little about sex, very little about sexual preference growing up, except sin, sin, sin.
yeah. Well, I mean, tell me about that because I hear you were a Jesuit priest for 10 years and then all of a sudden you switched to erotic massage. So, I mean, how did that all happen?
Um, well, growing up, I was at the Jesuits are an order in the Roman Catholic in Roman Catholicism, and they're teachers. So I went to Jesuit schools. I was educated in high school and in university by Jesuits, and I liked the idea of teaching. And I thought this is wonderful. And the downside, in a sense, is they're celibate. They're supposedly celibate. So I entered the Jesuits. Um, and I was 10 years a student. I was a member of the Jesuit order, but I wasn't a priest. I was just a Jesuit going towards priesthood, studying philosophy and theology and all kinds of stuff like this. And as I was studying, I became clearer and clearer that two things. That one, I was not going to be, I didn't want to be celibate. And secondly, that I was gay.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I thought these two things, this doesn't fit with being a Jesuit, and I left the Jesuits.
I have a question about celibacy, though.
Yes,
Did they prohibit masturbation too? Is that considered part of the
yes,
celibate?
yes. Masturbation is considered a sin in the Roman Catholic Church. It's a sin. Such a grave sin that you go to hell if you don't go to confession after masturbating.
Wow.
So the priests hear a lot of masturbation confessions, I'm sure, especially from teenage boys full
Yeah.
of hormones.
Wow. So what a change then. So tell me then what happened?
Uh, I I didn't feel like I was leaving my religious beliefs. I just felt that my vocation was broader than I thought it was. So I still felt a vocation to be of service to others. That was what the Jesuits are about. In fact, their phrase, it's a male order, was to be a man for others. And so that really resonated with me. I resonated with the idea of teaching. So almost immediately after leaving the Jesuits, I continued. I had taught high school also when I was in the Jesuits, so I continued teaching high school for a while, and then moved to teaching massage first, touch, and then sex.
Wow.
It
So
just
a
kind of
complete
evolved.
reversal, really.
Excuse me?
I mean, a complete reversal of your former, you know, practices then, going from celibate to
You know,
teaching
one of
girls?
the things I learned in the Jesuits, they were big on discerning what your gifts were and discerning what was needed in the world and how they matched up. And I just felt people needed more touch and needed to especially to learn more about how they evolved sexually. And so it evolved over time. It wasn't a huge step at any one point.
Yeah.
It was a lot of small steps over time.
So
I'm sure you recognize this
yeah,
small step approach.
yeah. But I mean, I'm just curious. Did any of your former Jesuit priest brothers contact you after you made this transformation, and have you had any backlash from that, or what?
You know, I left the Jesuits in 1975. I started my touch work, and I got my massage. I was a massage therapist as of 1979, and in the early 80s, I started teaching sex. And because of my 10 years in the Jesuits, my name really got out on the Roman Catholic priest network. And I did sessions, and I would guess 1/3 of my sessions for 10 years were with Catholic priests coming to see me. So all kinds of people having trouble with their sexuality, with body image, with guilt, shame.
Shame,
And
yeah.
so I did work so about 1/3 of the work I did was with Catholic priests.
Wow, that's incredible.
Even in classes, I would teach classes, massage classes, and I could pick out the priests.
Wow.
And I had a line that I would go over and say, do you have any sacerdotal energy in you? And sacerdotal is it's a Latin word for priest. And no one else would know what that means but priests. And so if somebody said no, but they never said no. They would jump and they'd be embarrassed, but they're here in incognito. So a lot of priests need assistance. I mean, look at the pedophile problem that so many priests have. Well, there's the same thing with just about being sexual beings, whether they're gay or straight. They have no support, no education. They're supposed to be nothing. They're supposed to be drained of all feeling. And I think that's totally inhuman.
Right. So you mentioned shame, and I'm wondering, for you growing up, did you personally have to deal with a lot of shame, or was it more of just like something that you always knew naturally, and it just sort of you blossomed into it when you left the order?
No, I think guilt and shame were two of the hallmarks of my, especially my teen years, and they were how religion held control. So religion consciously lays out patterns to shame people into behavior, and guilt, shame and guilt, and I've studied this in other religions other than my own. I just looked at Mormonism and how they shame young boys about purity. Masturbation shows a lack of purity. They don't have confession, so there's a lot of suicides among young Mormon boys.
Wow.
And this is a real concern among Mormon elders about now. But I have one of my colleagues did his PhD work on suicides in Mormon boys just because they masturbated, which was against the church rules. So shame and guilt are social controls. And there's so much shame in the world around sex that we just call it normal. It's so yes, I had shame and I had guilt, and I think the best truth-telling was the best thing I could do. The more I just said, this is who I am, and told the truth of who I am, the less shame had a control on me.
Yeah.
Like for saying, I masturbate regularly. I'm gay. I'm attracted to men. by saying this over and over, by being honest about it, not forcing it upon people, but by being open about it, the truth-telling was probably the best antidote to shame and guilt.